Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the CRL Podcast. My name is Caleb Smith, driver of the High Five Racing number 54 in the CRL Truck Series and ARCA Series, joined by Jacob and Rob.
This is your boy Jacob, driver of the number 19 High Five Racing truck and ARCA car on Mondays and Wednesday nights.
And this is your other boy, Rob Sherwood, driver of the 93 SMB Motorsports Arcade car as well as truck.
Well, just to kind of hop straight into what we're going to talk about today, we had our championship race Monday night for the CRL Truck Series, which you can watch on OSR Network on YouTube. Just type in Clean Racing League, and it should be one of the first things to pop up. I know you two were racing for a championship. The race didn't go the way you guys, wanted it to go. I know I was commentating, so I kind of, seen everything happen from the booth. Um, we seen what happened with you, Rob, and we seen what happened to Jacob, overcooking it on pit road. Just losing all that time. Um, but I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on the race and how maybe we can move forward and try to mount back a championship run next year.
I'll go first if you don't mind, Rob.
Yeah, absolutely. Go right ahead.
So I had a struggle race and a struggle night, to be honest with you. My Wi-Fi wasn't working, and that was already frustrating enough because I didn't get into the session and practice like I wanted to, and it kind of just threw me off a little bit. It got me out of my groove. I mean, I don't really practice that much for these races anyway, but um, I do turn enough laps so I can know what the truck is going to do on the race or in the race, and I can gauge it off of just running a few laps in practice and uh, running qualifying runs. So I didn't even get a chance to do any of that. I joined in with like 10 minutes left of practice, and we were in the drivers' meeting during those 10 minutes, and I uh, I just didn't get a chance to get on track and at least do a qualifying run. So during qualifying, I really didn't know what to expect. I had done a little bit of practice earlier in the week, but the track was just so different from then till Monday night, and it just uh, it just wasn't the same. So whenever I qualified, I screwed myself off of turn two. I got a little loose and lost a lot of time, and um, from there, it went downhill from the start of the race till then. I was running decent. I was saving tires in the beginning, and coming to that green flag pit stop, um, I was racing alongside Eric Anderson, and they're catching Eric Anderson and a lot of guys actually. I felt like I had a really good strong truck in the long run, and um, coming to pit road there, I Eric called out that he was pitting like right after I did, and I thought he was going to slow down more than he actually did. So I tried to go around him coming onto pit road, which I probably shouldn't have done. I should have just dipped down in behind him and stayed on the strategy that I should have been on, and it just didn't work out the way I wanted it to. I overcooked the tires coming into the pit road and just sped, and it that right there gave me a 40-second hold, and from that point on it was just a bad night. And then coming to with about 30 something to go, I ended up getting an incident with Parker Collins, Steve Gerber, and Matt Dyer. We were three wide, and Steve got into the wall right in front of me. I was gonna push it four wide was my initial plan. Steve was in the same race chat as me, and he was going to keep it in the wall so we can all three make it by him. And we just ran out of real estate there, and the night just didn't go the way I wanted it to go. So it was a little frustrating, but I'm super happy for Ross for winning his second championship, his second in a row, which is unbelievable. And kudos to him.
Yeah, well, like you said, Ross winning his second championship, second in a row. That's the first time we've had a back-to-back champion in league history. Rob, I just wanted to get your thoughts on the race, and we can move on from there.
uh, my 25 lap stint in the competition was about the extent of it. I Yeah, I don't really know where to go with it, to be honest with you. All I can, because obviously I didn't get a full run in, so um, it's kind of hard for me to speak on how the track kind of adjusted. I just know that, Josh and I kind of took the opposite approach. I mean, shoot, I'd say I ran way too many laps to get ready for that thing. I would say probably about 300 or 400 over the course of the week. Um, and I kind of had a feel for how things were going from session to session because obviously in iRacing the settings can be the exact same, but you'll get in certain sessions where it feels like you have more grip in certain areas and less grip, and um, it just feels different even though it can be the same settings. It's kind of hard to explain. And it obviously Atlanta '08 is a cheese grater on tires. You know that you have to save it the best you can. We ran a bunch on the bottom, um, and the more I ran on the bottom, I felt like I was doing pretty decent with tires. And then I started practicing the high line and realized that the sessions we were running, you could save almost as much tire up there, and the times were going were better. And so in practice, I did a run on both the bottom and the top. I started out on the bottom, then went to the top. My second run, and towards the end of practice, you could feel the grip going away from up top. I had my Delta bar on at the top of the track, and normally if I would do a start a Q run, I would be tracking about 2/10 to the bad, like off my optimal time, and but I would at least be able to carry the speed off the corner, be about like I don't know, 800ths off the corner going down the backstretch, and that time started slowly going down. So at that point, I noticed that the times were dropping towards the end of practice. So I was trying to adjust to that. And my qualifying lap, I had to run the bottom of 1 and 2 because I felt like that's where the track had kind of migrated. Even though I noticed a lot of people were running up top, it just wasn't holding the grip. Um, I did not put together the time I wanted to, even though I qualified fifth. And honestly, when I saw Ross qualified pole, it's hard to be upset with anyone other than Ross winning this season because I feel like he was of the guys that were full time racing for the championship. I think he was the most deserving. I think he was the best driver we had all season. He just there's something about him, and he's kind of talked about it in his playoff mindset. And I'm looking forward to asking him about this another when we have him on the pod. But he talks about his mentality to get through the playoffs, and him and Josh both are honestly just really good at maximizing their finishes. I can't speak to Jacob, but I feel like he and I kind of it feels like boomer bust sometimes. We have really good races, and then we have races where things don't go our way. Maybe we don't get the finish that we probably should, whether it be strategy, whether it be luck, whatever that is. And Josh and Ross do such a good job of putting themselves in good positions. So at the end of the day, it's while it's disappointing, it's hard to be upset that Ross ended up being the champion because at the end of the day, I think he was. I think he was the most deserving, and it's hard to be upset, when you feel like the most deserving person wins, as much as we all want to win. And at the end of the day, like Ross and I are close. He's a good friend of mine, and he always roots hard for us, his teammates at SMB. So, I'm glad that he was able to bring it home. And I know it was a little bit of a race for survival. I think three of the four of us had issues, but that speaks to his ability to stay out of out of trouble.
Yeah, he did a very good job of managing the race from what I saw. He was keeping the gap after you and Jacob had kind of had your issues. He was kind of only racing Josh at that point, and he was keeping the gap. I think he finished eighth or somewhere in there. Like um he wasn't racing for a win like he normally is in this series. And but I mean, he managed the race and ended up bringing home the championship for his second straight season. And
Yeah,
well,
and I think he just did what he had to do at that point. I think his mindset shifted, and once he realized that some of us had fallen out, it's like at that point just survive.
yeah, and I mean, he did a great job of doing that and, really securing the championship. We'll have him on Monday night to talk to him about his championship win and what he, if he's, what's his mindset about going for a third straight and just how he was able to pull it off and, in these clutch moments like we've seen him do before. Like I said, we'll have him on Monday night, talk to him. But this podcast, we have on another person we would like to talk to. He is a CRL Hall of Famer, Fred Garcia. He founded CRL a few years ago before transferring the ownership to Chris Smith, who we had on last week. Um, but we have Fred with us here. Hello, Fred.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good, good. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm happy to be here. Thanks.
Well, we're super happy to have you on, and like I said, you're a CRL Hall of Famer, first one ever. Um, that's got to be something special. Especially the with all the drivers we have, you'll always be the first CRL Hall of Famer. Um, in that long list of drivers as the series goes on. Um, but I just wanted to get to the questions and all of that. Um, a few years ago, you started the Clean Racing League. Did you ever expect it to get as big as it is right now in the current moment?
What it is right now is incredible. Like Chris has brought it to another level. No, I didn't expect it to be this big. But you know what? I was looking just before this show. I went and looked at the old statistics. So like the first 3 races I did were like some races to get people. And those races got 9, 16, and 16 people. And then the first season that we did, the first race, we had like 27 people participating. So right away, I'm not sure why it picked up. I know when I started the league, it was when COVID just started. It was in 2020. So a lot of people were at home, had nothing to do. And I guess, I just started it at the right time and right away it picked up and people just joined in. And I had some past experience. I had run a league on the old Papyrus game, NASCAR Racing 2003. Like for a while, I was very active with that game, and that game had a huge following online, and people would race. That was before iRacing. That was the big racing game. So I had experience of managing a league, and I knew a little bit of what I was getting into. Like I say, COVID happened, and people were stuck at home, and people joined quick, man. I just gotta say thank you to all the people that joined and stuck around. Like I was looking, Lane Osler was there at the first race, and he's been there since the beginning. And a lot of guys then came in not too long after that, and we had a solid foundation quickly.
Yeah, I was gonna say whenever I joined the league, there was a quite a few people in the league, and you were still running it whenever I joined, and how you ran it and how Chris ran it are similar, but two different styles of how a league is ran, and they both are very successful. You were very successful as a league owner in getting it started and everything, and it's very cool to see some of those guys who uh, started back when you started and are still here running with you and with us, and it's just amazing to see.
Yeah, we built a nice community, and I'm gonna congratulate Chris on the job he's doing because I'll be 100% honest. Especially at the end, I didn't have the energy to put all the hours necessary to get the league to where it is now, and that's all because of the time Chris has put in and the people that help him. So I'm happy I helped to get it started, but a lot of what is today is really Chris, and he deserves a lot of the applause also.
We're all super appreciative of the work that you put in to start the league, and I was around when you were still running the league, and those were always some of the cleanest races I had ever taken part in. I had a few hiccups here and there. I'm not gonna say I'm perfect, but just the you go to some of these leagues and there's not the people don't have the respect that they should have when they're doing this type of stuff, and you come to the Clean Racing League, the league that you founded, and you know it's just it's a different style of racing, and it's really taken off. From when I didn't know it started, and when COVID hit. So that's new to me. I thought it was like 21, 22, somewhere in there. Um, which I guess is still in those years. But yeah, I mean, just the the community you've built here, and just the direction it's gone. I believe it's one of the best leagues in iRacing, and I'm super happy you're still racing with us.
Yeah, I can second that.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm even one of the newer guys in the grand scheme of things. But I mean, this is probably turned into one of, it's going to sound bizarre, but this is probably turned into one of the most professional casual leagues because I think we have a good group of people who show up and race that are really competitive, and people that are very good but just want to come out and have a good time, and it's turned into a really good community. And so I mean it really all does start from the foundation that you said, and I know Chris gives you a lot of credit for what the league does now, so it's funny to hear you give him all the credit because I know he would do the same thing. But you guys have done a great job, just both from the foundation and the growth standpoint, because this is by far the most fun I've had on iRacing since I joined. And I've been racing with Caleb and Jacob and Chris for 4 years now, and I think we can all agree that this is the best place to race that we found.
I was going to say, you say foundation, and right when I started, I would always mention the most important thing to build the league is building a good group of drivers that have a common goal of having fun and with respect, and that's the foundation. It's everybody that's in the league. Like we got a solid group, and that's what makes the league very good, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I was gonna say, this league has kind of spoiled me a little bit. I go and race in other leagues and other or like official races and hosted races, and it's not the same. Like I have an issue with, I wouldn't call it an issue, but I have a such a high standard of how I feel like everybody should race on iRacing because of CRL and how clean and respectful everybody is here, and it's uh it's amazing. I get in trouble sometimes because I with my mouth because I expect everybody to be as good as everybody is in CRL and other places, and it's just not the same. So it's definitely one of those leagues that's turned into something beyond just a casual racing league. It's turned into a huge family, and it's turned into a brand, and the direction that it's heading is amazing. There's only bigger, brighter lights for it.
Yeah, I 1000% agree with that. I can go race in any other league, and granted I've got a little bit less time than what I used to, but it's not the same. Throughout the races or just in the Discord after, it's really hard to find a place where so many guys, and granted, not everybody's always going to get along, but really, I think the majority of the guys in here really do enjoy just coming out and having a good time with each other and just kind of shooting the shit, and agreeing that we're all here for the same reason and to have fun. And it's I think I cannot give y'all enough credit because especially with the iRacing community, I know that it gets a bad rap for how toxic it can be at times, just between personalities and everything that goes with that. So, it's so hard to get this many people, this many good quality people and drivers, and be able to sustain it, and then also have the level of not necessarily professionalism, but
Competence.
yes, exactly.
Well, I do have one more thing I would like to talk to Fred about. Um, were you shocked in any way when the announcement was made that you were going to be the first Clean Racing League Hall of Famer?
Honestly, I didn't expect it. Remember when Chris started on the driver meeting voice channel mentioning it? I go, oh, okay, I think he's going towards me. But before that, I didn't expect it at all, and I'm honored. Thank you very much. I know it's not because of my performance on track, but I'm honored to be part of this group of racers, and I'm having fun. And like I said earlier, the most important thing is having a good group of people, and that's what we have. I see this like I'm a Canadian, so I see this like a hockey beer league where it's all your friends, and you meet up once a week and you have fun and you play hockey. So this is similar. Like once a week, these are all our friends. We're all buddies, and we race and we have fun and we do it respectfully. And that's how I see this league, and I'm honored to be part of it and honored to be the first Hall of Famer.
Well, just it's completely deserved. Just because without you, this league wouldn't have existed to begin with. Well, Fred, we do appreciate your time coming onto this podcast. I know we don't really hear a lot from you, and it's just I'm sure everyone's going to appreciate being able to hear you know these things and hear a different side of Fred. So we appreciate you coming onto the podcast, and I'm sure we'll see you on the track next season. Trucks, maybe ARCA.
Yeah, I'm going to be there for trucks full time, and I plan on racing here and there in ARCA. I cannot guarantee I'll be there every week. These days, my life is my two kids. They're 4 and 7 year olds, and love them, and I love spending time with them, so they're the number one priority. But you guys are the only guys I race with. This Clean Racing League is the only race I do on iRacing these days. Once in a while, I'll do a race here and there, but this Clean Racing League is the reason why I pay my iRacing subscription. So I'm very happy to be part of it. I'll definitely be there next year.
Well,
We'll be looking forward to having you.
Yeah, that's fantastic to hear. I don't think the Clean Racing League would be the Clean Racing League if Frederick wasn't on the racetrack. You know what I'm saying? So I, we're super happy that you were able to spare some time and come into this podcast. And it won't be the last. We'll have you on again sometime in the future. But we appreciate you. And we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you. Have a good show.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fred.
He's such a nice guy. I race with him on High Five Racing. He runs with us, and he's going to be returning back to High Five Racing, or I should say Formidable Motorsports, which is a second team of High Five Racing. He's not very vocal in the race chat. When we're racing, he usually stays pretty quiet and focuses, but he is the epitome of clean racing. He gets out of everybody's way when he needs to, and he doesn't run anybody hard. And it's honestly great to see from the gentleman who started CRL. He really shows what clean racing is.
Yeah, and 100%. And I wanted to emphasize to him that this wouldn't have been anything if it wasn't for him starting it. So you two, you guys, said some wonderful things, and the questions we asked, we, like I said, we don't get to hear a lot from Fred, so I was super excited to have him on, and especially him being the first Clean Racing League Hall of Famer. I think it's it's fitting to have him onto the podcast and let him speak. He was the owner for a while and until Chris Smith took over, but just let him have the floor, let him speak, and I'm sure our newer drivers who are going to listen to this are going to see how it started on this podcast, and how it started, which I didn't even know it started in the COVID years. I thought it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, I feel like it's really funny listening to him and Chris talk about each other because there's so much respect for one another. It almost reminds me of the Spider-Man memes. Like I could see Chris and Fred of like who wants
pointing
to
at
take
each other.
yeah, exactly, who wants to take credit for it. It's like, no, you take the
I didn't
credit.
do it. You did it. I didn't do it. You did it.
No, someone needs to make the meme where their numbers are like Spider-Man and it's just
Yeah.
pointing at each other. Jacob, make it.
I'll get right on that.
But you know, to move on to our next topic, you know, we mentioned last week we're also going to talk about real life motorsports, um, and we're going to start off with what a lot of people in our league race, and that's stock cars. We're going to start with NASCAR. You know, we watched over the weekend. We're just going to touch base on the Cup race. You know, we seen Josh Berry bring home his first ever Cup Series or not championship. Sorry, whoa, too far ahead.
True.
First,
That'd be
first.
really dope if he won the
What
championship.
are the
Oh,
odds on that? Because I don't know.
but you
I
know,
honestly, I think they're pretty high.
Yeah.
well, I mean, you know, he
Did
just.
you see the wager on him, the bet slip this weekend? Somebody caught him at plus 10,000 odds. So it was
Holy
$10 to win $1,000, I believe, if I'm remembering correct.
wow!
Or
I
yeah,
did not
something
Hey,
see
like
that, but
yeah.
I wish I would have because I mean, honestly, Josh Berry's been fast.
Yeah.
Like all season, he's been fast.
well,
Yeah. I
oh, go
think
ahead.
I think I heard somebody I was talking. It may have actually been some of the guys talking in the chat, but you know, honestly, we'll see if it comes to fruition. But the worst case scenario for Austin Cindric is Josh Berry running like he's running.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Um, and you know, to people were you know kind of saying he lucked his way into that win. He was running top 10, top 5 all race.
Yeah, and that's
Um,
just not true.
and you know, Josh Berry, I mean, he's won Xfinity races at Las Vegas. He knows how to drive that track. I don't think it comes to a shock to anyone other than the fact that he's driving a Wood Brothers car, which is technically a Penske car. And, you know, Matty D and Harrison Burton should have been performing well in that car. But that's a topic for another day. Um,
Hmm.
I think I think it goes to show that it's not the car, it was the driver. Because he's 5 races in, or yeah, 5 races in, and he just won his first race with Wood Brothers, um, which is insane. Because I think the last person to win at a non-plate track was Blaney when he won at Pocono when he drove the 21.
Yeah,
So
and I
that's
believe I saw a stat where the last time the Wood Brothers had won on a mile and a half was either 1989 or 1991, one of the two. But it has been a long time since they won on a mile and a half track.
I want to
and
say it
that's
was 89.
insane.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And aren't they the only team left from like the start of NASCAR? Like that are like the original teams?
I believe they are the oldest running team, but that I'm not entirely. I think.
Does I understand it's not petty anymore. It's legacy. But you know you had I mean I guess he sold that. So it's Jimmy Johnson now.
Yeah, that definitely seems to be Jimmy's show more than RPM, which is very bizarre in its own right. Especially obviously with Jimmy being with Toyota now. I think I'm still not used to that.
Yeah, that throws me for a loop. I still every time they say Jimmy Johnson's racing, I always want to look for that Lowe's number 48, that
Hmm.
bright yellow 48.
I know it
Well,
feels like a little bit of an imposter syndrome when he's out there on the track in a Toyota.
Yeah, it's like this isn't right. What are you doing?
he's always been a Chevy guy, which is kind of shocking that you know he went with Toyota. But you know, I obviously the money had to have been there for that to happen. However, if Chevy were to make a move, because they are stopping the production of the Camaro, you know, there are talks that they're moving to Cadillac. So maybe we might see Legacy go there. I like I said, I haven't looked into it, but that would be insane if he makes another move. Um, I I don't know. There are a few more things I would like to talk about with the race. We've seen a lot of loose tires. I'm not sure if you guys had seen that, but we had
Yeah, I don't know if it was I really don't know what the issue was. Like I was listening to Actions Detrimental and Dale Jr.'s podcast, and they were both talking about it, and it's just it's odd to see that many inconsistencies on a pit road. Like I know Las Vegas pit road is already hard enough to get on and to get stopped in your boxes because the boxes are so slick there, but it honestly that was just it didn't look like a cup race. It looked more of like a truck race or even an Xfinity race.
Yeah, it was a weird Las Vegas race more than anything, much less Cup race. It's just, I don't know. There was an abnormal amount of cautions, and kind of like you said, it's some of the things that happened were honestly just things that you're not used to seeing happen that often. I mean, obviously we'll see a loose wheel maybe once or twice, but I mean, Kyle Busch hitting the wall and his literal entire wheel coming off was wild.
Yeah.
I know they're looking at apparently there's conversations now because the 20 team stopped in another stall, and I don't
Yep.
I don't really think there should be. I mean, I think at the end of the day that's kind of a smart move. I mean, he got his penalty by being serviced outside the box. He got sent to the back. I mean, they avoided the crew chief suspension because his wheel didn't come off. At the end of the day, wouldn't you rather a team do something like that and keep the wheel on? I don't know. So I hope nothing really else comes of that, because in reality, that was honestly the best decision they could have made, probably, if we're regarding safety and they're worried about safety with the wheels coming off.
You bringing up Christopher Bell stopping in, I believe it was Briscoe's box.
Yes,
Briscoe was also another one that had a tire come loose, which is it's kind of funny if you think about it.
a little ironic. Yeah,
Yeah. Um, but you had Briscoe's tire come loose, and then Bell, big brain move, stops in Briscoe's box, and all they did was just tighten the tire. They didn't take the tires off. All they did was just tighten the lug, and they sent him on his way. And apparently that's in the rules. You can do that. You would just take the penalty for pitting outside your box, which he did. Instead of he would had the tire come off, he would have lost crew members, which is not what you want, even though Bell's already won 3 in a row. So he's locked. He could do no wrong at this point. He is there to the end now, especially with those 3 straight wins. But I mean, you still don't want the wheel coming off. And if they're preaching about safety as much as they are, and they're taking these extreme measures, suspending people for the wheel coming off, I don't see a problem with him pitting in another box just to get it tightened.
yeah, no, I agree with that. And honestly, it was kind of funny watching the expression of the jackman and the tire changer on
Yeah.
the 19 crew when he pulls into the stall, because you can tell they're very confused about what's happening. And I know that supposedly Adam Stevens had communicated with the 19 team what was happening, but just that initial reaction, because obviously you're not expecting that. So I can only imagine what was happening in their heads. But yeah, no, it was quick thinking. And um, it would have been cool to see, Chris Sherwood be the crew chief for a few weeks, but for the team as a whole, definitely not the best idea.
um, and I could be wrong here, but they did say James Small, I believe that's his name.
Yeah,
The
the
crew
19
chief of
team.
yeah. Apparently they know they can do this. So he knew what was happening. Um, so it's just big brain moves on Joe Gibbs' part, that whole team for utilizing and I guess bending the rules to avoid the penalty. But all in all, the race was great. One of the better races in the season. A whole bunch of drivers who haven't really been up front. Um, you know, and it's always nice seeing someone new win. So maybe that's why the race was a little bit better. Because we seen Josh Berry win his first cup race, especially in the Wood Brothers car, who which doesn't win a lot. but he's had pace all year.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm partial to Josh Berry because I'm partial to Dale Jr. and obviously, he's a big, or Dale's a big proponent of Josh Berry with him being in his late models, and that being really where his name was initially made. So, it's really cool for him. Obviously, being from Virginia, it's cool to see Wood Brothers in Victory Lane, and then, I'm I claim to be a Trackhouse guy, so I claim to be a Suarez fan. So it was nice to see him. I know he didn't get the win, but he really needed a good finish, especially after the last few weeks that he's had. I mean, wrecking out at Coda with a top 10 car, and then wrecking out at Phoenix being in the top five. That's pretty brutal back to back weeks. So he really needed a good run. So it was nice to see them kind of get some positive momentum. So I hope the Trackhouse can kind of take that and use that to propel them forward because they really need a bounce back year this year. And I really thought Ross would win multiple races this year. So I need him to do that to make me not look like an idiot.
How do you guys feel about the 21 being in the playoffs? Like they're locked into the playoffs. How do you think that makes the other teams feel? Like, does that change their game plan for the rest of the season now? Like, because I mean, I don't think anybody expected the 21 to come out and win a mile and a half race. They expected them to come out and win Dago or Daytona
Daytona.
or even Atlanta maybe, but not not a mile and a half.
I I'll be honest with you. I don't know that it really changes things for teams too much. At least not as of yet. I mean, we're still only 5 races into this thing, so I don't think teams are ready to hit the panic switch just yet. But like, if you're a team like Spire with Michael McDowell going out and qualifying on the pole, I think it maybe gives you a little bit of confidence that hey, you might actually be in this thing more than you realize.
You know, to go off of what you said, they made the playoffs last year with Harrison Burton because he won at Daytona. So this would be 2 straight seasons they make the playoffs, and that's a big payday just to make the playoffs, compared to like not making it. Um, so whether that's a Penske car or not, that's still big for Wood Brothers and especially Josh Berry, who has has been a iRacing pro driver, won I believe it's 3 races in the Pro Series. So started there, was racing late models for Dale Jr. like you said, Rob. So it's just kind of insane, how all these newer drivers. I mean, he's what 34, but it's generally the younger like 20s, mid 20s, or teenagers. They start on iRacing and then they'll move up and they'll start racing like legends and then go from there. Kind of like William Byron. Um, but it's just kind of cool someone go from iRacing to a Cup Series winner. It's always cool to see.
Well,
Um,
and before we move on, I kind of just wanted to speak to what you were saying about how good they've been. Josh Berry actually has more top fives than Ryan Blaney does this year to this point, and he's also led more laps than Kyle Larson has to this point. And we're 5 races into the year, so if you had told me that after going to Phoenix and Coda and Las Vegas that he would have more laps led than Kyle Larson, I would have thought you were crazy.
Yeah, I would have laughed in your face. Kyle Larson was very fast at Vegas. Like I thought he was going to be the guy to beat the entire time, and the way the cautions fell and the pit strategies played out, it just turned the tables, and it kind of ruined Kyle Larson's chances.
Yeah, it's really wild to look at the standings. And granted, it's only by 4 points and 7 points, but he is actually the lowest performing Hendrick car through 5 races. He's actually below Chase and Alex as of right now.
if you look at Josh Berry's season so far, it hasn't been very good. You look at Daytona, he finished 37th. You look at Atlanta, 25th. Circuit of the Americas, 26th. Okay, he's a short track dude. Okay, he's not going to do good at a road course. Then you start going to tracks where you actually have to like drive. Phoenix, Las Vegas, 4th place at Phoenix, one Las Vegas. So that Wood Brothers car has got some speed. Um, However, to shift topics, my driver, Denny Hamlin, not doing too hot right now. Um,
Yeah, not
you
great.
know,
He's not
you
helping
know,
my fantasy team either.
well, sucks. He's not helping my heart. It's painful. You look at Daytona, 24th. Atlanta, he finished 6th. Circuit of the Americas, 21st. Barely got beat by Bell at the line for, so he finished 2nd. And then Las Vegas, it was bad. I know he's running up front because of the pit cycles and whatnot. But he fell back, and it, he even said on his podcast the car was bad. So
Is it just me, or do you feel like all the Gibbs cars were bad other than the 20 car? Because I noticed that Ty Gibbs a lot, um, like when he was running inside the top 15 very briefly, because of some of the strategy, just watching him get beat on corner exit was kind of astounding. It seemed like the car was so tight off the corner
He,
that they couldn't go anywhere.
Ty Gibbs is just so far this season, from what I can tell, he's just hasn't been up to speed with all the other Gibbs cars, even at any track. He's just been like the lone wolf out.
if he finishes this season with the direction he's going, I think we need to have a serious talk about, um, it'd be different if he was doing better and his last name was Gibbs. But it's different when your last name is Gibbs, driving for Joe Gibbs, and you're not doing good. Uh, so you look at the stats from this year. Ty Gibbs, 16th at Daytona, 32nd at Atlanta, 34th at Circuit of the Americas, 25th at Phoenix, 22nd at Las Vegas for an average finish of 25.8. That's not anything to be happy about, because you've gone to pretty much every style of track you can go to, with the exception of like your Martinsville, Bristol, because we haven't gone there yet. We will in the coming weeks, but he's gonna have to do something because right now he's I think it says 34th, which is not good.
And I honestly, I expected him. I heard TJ say it in Dow Jr.'s download or Dow Jr.'s podcast. I thought he was going to come in and do really well. I thought he was going to at least get one win by the end of his second season because, I mean, how good he was in the Xfinity car. Like it almost seemed like he was winning every single race or running up front in every single race he raced in. And it's just kind of like he's just flipped the script and he's not that same kind of driver.
Well, so I I feel like he's having an identity crisis. So, for one, he was always running in the best of the best in Xfinity. Granted, JGR is still the best of the best the cup equipment, but obviously we know that the Xfinity programs and the cup programs are very different. But also, I think in his driving style, because he had the best equipment, he could be aggressive and he didn't really have to.
Yeah,
I
it's
want
like
to say,
it's kind of spoiled him.
well, not only did it spoil him, but if he got in the back of somebody, he really rarely had to deal with the consequences of it. I don't want to say he was able to bully people, but his driving style was way more aggressive than what it is now because I think he was able to get away with some stuff that he's not able to get away with now, both in the quality of the drivers that he's racing with, but also the equipment that he's racing against.
At, I'm sure as the season goes on, he'll get up to speed. At least I hope. I don't want to see that car doing bad. Because he was so good in Xfinity. But also those cars are so different. I don't know who said it. I don't really remember who said it on when, where. But they said you could take anyone that drives the truck that's good in the truck, put them in the cup car, and they'll be good because of the way the aero works on them. And you can kind of see that with Carson Hocevar, who has flashes of um of skill here and there. He's still working on some things. You know, driving wise, he's very aggressive. Um, kind of remember when Ross Chastain had kind of started driving the one car and was kind of driving through everyone, um, which was funny when Ross Chastain was the one that went up to him talking about it and then plowed through everyone. Um,
We're not here to
so
talk about that.
yeah, but to, but the Xfinity car is so different from the Cup car.
Absolutely.
He's a champion in the Xfinity series. Dominated the Xfinity series. That Xfinity car is so different from the Cup car, and I think that's why we're not seeing as many Cup drivers go down and race Xfinity anymore. If you know, because I'm not sure if I mean I'm sure we all remember it, but it's like every weekend there was a Cup driver or several Cup drivers in Xfinity racing. Um, Now it's, Alex Bowman here in the 17, William Byron here at the road course. They're just here and there. It's not like every week where you have a Cup driver there because the cars handle so much different. They would rather go do trucks, which is what Kyle Busch does. Um, so
And speaking of like Cup drivers, I know Eric Almirola doesn't race Cup anymore, and but how cool is it to see him get out there and win a race?
I mean, the fact that he bodied Bowman.
I mean, you're not racing for points. Neither one of you are racing for points. It's strictly just going out there and getting a win for the team that you're driving for. So for
I've
the win, I don't really see anything wrong with it, especially since they raced each other fairly clean the entirety of the race. So in my opinion, he drove him up into the fence, and Alex Bowman has a right to be mad, but you flip the script, Alex Bowman would have done the exact same thing to him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like either of them. Personally, that's me, my opinion. I don't like either of them. So,
Oh, so you don't like them, but you can't decide whether you like Chase or Dennis.
okay,
Right.
all right, hold on.
Like
Listen,
I can remember
listen.
Caleb used to always be a Chase Elliott fan, nothing else. Chase
Have
Elliott,
pictures. I
All right.
have pictures.
and out of nowhere,
Oh, here we fucking
oh,
go.
well, I can't say that he hasn't never liked Denny Hamlin. He's liked Denny Hamlin in the past, but not as much as he likes him now.
Listen, okay. Okay. My first race I ever went to was the 2019 Roval Cup race. That was the first ever race I went to. Chase Elliott won. That was the one where he nosed into the barrier, came back, won the race. That
Yep, I remember.
so.
I was there with you.
That was a badass burnout.
So
Actually, I
I
think
was.
were you there too, Rob?
No, I was not there. The first year I did the Roval, I think, was 2021. I think it was the last year before they went to the next gens.
Yeah, I think it was just me, you, and your brother, Caleb.
Uh, and and uh, and Dad, but
Yeah,
we
yeah.
so we that was the first race I went to. Second race I went to um, was um, second race I went to was the 2020 All-Star race they did at Bristol. Jacob, we went to that one as well. Chase
hmm
Elliott won that one, and I have that die cast on my wall. So the first two races I ever went to, Chase Elliott won. So I was like, oh, okay, I like Chase Elliott. Um, I do not like Chase Elliott. I am a Denny Hamlin fan. I
It
have
feels
I
so
have
awkward for you to say you do not like Chase Elliott.
I
How
look
can you
Mhm.
listen
not like Chase Elliott?
listen, boss man. I okay. Listen, I he's all right. He's all right. Plus, he was winning a lot of road courses.
Yeah,
Here's the
and we
thing.
know you're the road course ringer, so
I,
anybody winning road courses, you're a fan of.
I feel it. Oh, well, yeah, that's true. But
I like
also,
Marcus Ambrose.
I feel like there was a lot of people that didn't like Dale Jr. because of Dale Jr.'s fans, and I feel like we're almost getting in the same territory with Chase Elliott because there are some Chase fans that are not my favorite. um, so it's sometimes I think it's a little bit of a grudge against him because of some of his fans, but God, I have to roll my eyes when I go to races and I see all the Chase merch sometimes because it feels
Dude,
so overdone with all the quality drivers we
he
have.
he has his own
Yeah.
hauler. If you
Yeah,
go to the
yeah,
races,
exactly.
and all I can think about is like when was the last time they rung that fucking bell? You know what I'm saying? Like
Oof.
yeah. Oh, here we go.
It
But
has been a minute since he's
Well,
won the race.
technically they did it for the Clash probably. I would assume so. I never looked, but I would assume they did it for the Clash.
that doesn't.
It doesn't mean they didn't ring the
It
bell.
doesn't. It doesn't. Yeah, but
I mean,
all right.
we don't count it, but it doesn't mean they don't count it.
Okay,
they're down in Dawsonville, Georgia. They are big
listen.
Elliott fans down there.
Well, that's where he's from, but Bubba won the duel. We're not saying he won a race.
Well,
I mean that's
Listen,
it's Bubba.
well,
here we go.
we've got our own interpretation and stuff. You know, I mean, if you're a fan of somebody, of course you're going to count it. I mean, shoot, when Dale joined Hendrick, I'm going to say that yeah, he won a race because he won the duel. He won a duel. So I think everybody has their own definition of it, and especially when you root for the guy.
As a Denny Hamlin fan, we win everything except for a championship. So it is what it is.
If only he could get some advice from his fictional cousin Lewis Hamilton.
Dennis Hamilton. Man. That's actually a really good segue into what we're going to talk about next. The F1 race in Australia.
Real
Rob,
quick before we go to Australia, because I do want to cover that. I just random factoid. I'm sitting here looking at the results page, and you've just got John Hunter Nemechek in the Backstreet Boys Toyota, and I hope that you're going to buy that diecast when the time comes. All right.
Well, I'm going to go and tell you right now, no, but
I believe Chris Smith is a huge Backstreet Boys fan.
I could see him jamming out.
He stings it on the daily.
I could see him jamming out to some Backstreet Boys on the way to work.
Yeah.
So to hop into the F1 race, Rob, me and you stayed up to the wee hours of the morning. We're on the East Coast.
Survived multiple warm-up lap crashes.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just hop straight into it. 12 o'clock midnight was race start. The Rolex clock, which we've been waiting to see, ticks at midnight. We're super excited, and this motherfucker Isaac Hadjar wrecks it in the first fucking corner. Like, listen,
to be clear, it's brutal, and I feel so bad for the kid. I really do.
Listen, I'm sleepy. He delayed that race by 15 minutes.
Listen,
I was pissed.
Give the guy a break. All right, those conditions were brutal. Okay, I mean, you've got experienced drivers out there struggling. I mean, granted, it's a warm up lap. You would think that okay, maybe not going to have those issues, but I don't know.
I remember telling you that I was going to stay up and join the Discord and watch the race with you guys, but I
so much for that.
Asleep, so I had to wake up the next day and catch the highlights of it. Lando just put a whooping on him.
Sort of.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, it was weird because really, if you didn't pass before the dry line came in, you weren't going to pass because once everybody went to slicks, you were going to have somebody go off track to try and make a pass, like to get past anybody. So, I mean, he definitely, I think he built that gap up enough at the end where Max couldn't get to him. But I think again, it's just another example of, how good McLaren's car is to start the season, but also Max is still, again, I'm gonna be honest with you. Red Bull seemed like they were lost on strategy, and Max still finished P2. Granted, I know Oscar went off track, and that was part of it, but that dude consistently gets finishes out of that car, even after it's probably the third or fourth best car on the grid, dating back to midway through last season. I think I'm not the biggest Max fan, but you can't deny how freaking good the dude is.
Max Verstappen.
So
sorry, I had to.
No, you're good. So we seen Isaac Hadjar wreck on the warm up lap. I've made what my opinion is of the situation known. I'm not saying he's not a talented driver. However, you do have to get your super license to race in Formula One, which means he has the experience. Maybe not in those conditions, but he's driven that car before. So I mean, on the formation lap, but we move forward. Then you have is it Doohan or Doohan?
It's Doohan.
Doohan. Okay, so then we have Doohan wreck, which another rookie in the field for Alpine, and then you have it pains me to say this, Carlos Sainz wreck in the final corner.
The smooth operator. It was
Yeah.
not very smooth operation.
So, come to find out, Alex Albon, he finished P5. Kimi Antonelli's position was given back to him, so he finished P4. But Carlos Sainz actually gave the strategy to Williams, which let Albon get P5. So that was kind of cool. Which that wouldn't have happened had he not wrecked. So, but it was painful. Rob, you know my reaction. It was bad.
Yeah.
I
Did you ever hear what happened? Because it sounded like maybe a gear got stuck,
Yeah.
or at least that's what it sounded like.
So, James, the team principal, they posted a video this morning talking about it, and they go into a different race mode when they're in their safety car. And he said something about how it's in a different rev when it's in a different mode, and he went up a gear, and when he did, it spun the car.
Wow.
So which that's crazy. Um,
So at the end
there's
of the day, are they saying that's on the car or is that on Carlos? Is that kind of what he was saying?
I think they were putting it on the car.
Okay.
Which I mean, that just seems like a rookie mistake for Carlos to be making.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was Carlos. I think it was the car, which is even more unfortunate. But Williams is going to be good this season. I want Williams to do good. But to move a little bit further into the race, we had a little bit of green flag runs after the safety car, and after they cleaned up the fuckery that was the wrecks,
Oof.
and we get a little bit of green flag run. Oscar Piastri is he's working on Verstappen, and once he clears Verstappen, he forces Verstappen into a mistake, which is rare for Verstappen to bite on something like that. Piastri gets by him, and Lando and Piastri put 17 seconds on Verstappen, which is insane.
Yeah.
Because we were watching that race, and I wouldn't say we're dumbfounded by it, but for Red Bull to be that far off the pace, which by the way, Liam Lawson taking Sergio Perez's spot, it's like he never left.
It's a cheaper version. That's all it is.
Yeah. It should have been Yuki, but they're not doing Honda, so why would they put Yuki there? Yuki's only there because of Honda, which is unfortunate because Yuki has gotten really good. In that they changed the name so many times. What is it, Racing Bulls now?
Yeah, it's the Racing Bulls now.
Okay, so because like last year it was the Cash App, Visa,
RB.
Yeah, RB. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
That was the name of their team?
Yeah,
yes.
it was. Hang on.
Oh, wow.
Hold on. Hang on. If I can find it, let me open up the Formula One app. Actually, it'd probably be best to. It's not even necessary. Their name was long as hell. It doesn't matter. It's not that anymore. I guess they realized nobody was saying that shit, so they were just like, let's just change it to Racing Bulls. Keep it moving.
Are they like an affiliate to Red Bull?
Yeah,
They are the sister team to Red Bull. Yes.
Oh, okay.
they're not.
It took a lot of it kind of got put in the spotlight last year when the drivers championship was tightening up because it was Daniel Ricciardo's last race with Visa Cash App RB insert rest of name here. And they sent him out on softs on his last lap in Formula One to take the fastest lap away. And, people have speculated whether that came from Red Bull itself to take that championship point away. And so it kind of started that conversation about sister teams. But yes, officially they are affiliated with Red Bull. That's normally where the junior drivers will go to get more experience, or in Ricciardo's case, try to make a comeback.
But that race was chaotic. I think there was a point where it was starting to dry up. The dry line was coming in, and they had come in, put the Ferrari.
Oh yeah, listen. There's three things that are certain in life: death, taxes, and Ferrari fucking up a strategy.
It is bad, Jacob. Jacob, I don't think you understand. You didn't watch it. Ferrari came in and they put the hard tires on not only Hamilton, they put it on Leclerc too, or Leclerc. Anyway, they
Leclerc.
Leclerc. Anyway, so they had done that, and it,
So they just butchered their entire strategy,
and
basically.
it won't be the
Is what you're
last time
telling me?
either.
No.
Yeah,
They will
it's
throw away at
Sounds
least 3 other races this year with strategy.
sounds like me on our championship race.
that. Well, see, Jacob, no, that's a different thing. They actually got slowed down, and then they put on terrible tires. Then a few laps later, it starts raining again. So you have Norris go off, then you have Piastri go off. After they've been racing for a little bit longer, and I remember us watching it, Rob. They both go off. We're kind of in shock because it's like, oh no. And then you see Piastri come back onto the track, and he slides off into the grass and he's stuck. Uh, Even to the point to where the F1 ticker said that he was out of the race. But goddamn it, he didn't give up.
Yeah, did you hear what he said about how he credited getting out of the grass? Apparently, he learned to drive a tractor backwards at Jeremy Clarkson's farm, and so he said that helped him get out of the grass.
That's actually not a shocker. Because I mean, if you're gonna learn how to do some dumb shit from somebody, it's probably the Top Gear guys. I'm happy he finished his race because it's his home race. I hate he didn't get the podium because I mean he was faster than Norris. I mean, let's be real here.
Yeah,
He
for
he
sure.
was, and I think it's
More papaya rules. Can't wait to see how that turns out.
yeah, well, it's very obvious that Norris is the number one driver, and will be the number one driver for the foreseeable future.
Is it obvious? Because I don't think it's even obvious to them. I mean, they just gave him a contract extension, both of them actually. But also, I mean, if you're Oscar, if you're faster consistently, I mean, I know Lando does a really good job of on the long runs, and that's something the Oscars had to get better at. And I feel like he did last year. But I don't know. I don't see him, especially with what happened at Monza. With him going into turn one or not turn one, I think it was turn three, and kind of just taking the opportunity to pounce. I think it's going to get to a point where I don't know that he knows that he's clearly the number two, because I think his speed reflects that, honestly. And I think
The
they've given them both such a good car that it's going to put them in a position where they have to make a decision, and they don't want to.
we were watching the race, and over the radio, um, Piastri had caught Norris, and
From 3.5 seconds back,
yeah,
mind you.
he caught him, and over the radio they go hold position. You're out of your fucking mind. Like he caught him from 3.5 seconds back, and you're gonna tell
Yeah.
him to hold position.
They told him to hold position, and then he goes in the gravel 1/4, falls back to 2.5 seconds, and they go, "Okay, now you can race." Wow,
Yeah.
thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you for telling me I can race now. Now that I gotta go catch him again, and then once you catch him, we're gonna tell you to hold position again. So I think we're gonna get to a point with it's gonna become 2016 Hamilton and Rosberg again, which I'm not sure if you. I know you're not like
I'm fairly new to
new.
Formula One, but
Yeah.
I do know about that season. Yes.
So I think it's gonna become that situation again, where they're gonna get super super racy, they're gonna wreck each other, and then it's gonna be a whole episode of Drive or Survive, for next year, um, and then that's just how that's gonna be. But I think it's gonna be a three-way fight for the championship: Verstappen, Norris, Piastri, and McLaren's gonna have to figure out who they want to win the championship because they both
Yeah.
can't win it.
No, I completely agree. And obviously, you can never count Max out, because I think he's very clearly the best driver in the sport. But he doesn't very clearly have the best car anymore. And that will make it interesting, because I very much foresee McLaren putting themselves in a position where they may still get decent team finishes out of it. And honestly, if this weekend was any indication of how the season's going to go, I think Lawson is going to not consistently score points like they're hoping. And I think Ferrari are going to take plenty of opportunities to dig themselves into a hole. So I think with McLaren, they very clearly have the fastest car. They've got two guys that very clearly could be number one drivers. And I think there's going to be a lot of situations where you've got Oscar and Lando taking points off of each other, which I think will help Max stay in the drivers' championship combined with his
Yeah.
talent level. Um, I mean, it's hard to bet against him for a fifth in a row. So we'll see. I mean, when you look at those two McLarens, they are very clearly the fastest cars, but I guess we'll just have to see what McLaren does with it.
Yeah, and I'm just I think this is the most excited I've been for a Formula One season in a while. It's the last year for the regulations change. So of course, I think Red Bull's kind of put all their chips into um, we played the F1 games, so like we know how that works. But they kind of started the regulations are changing. They're putting their development into next year's car, which if you put all your development in a car that's not going to exist next year, then you're already going to be behind for the years to come. Um, so is McLaren doing that now, or are they prepared for the regulation change? We don't know. Um, but one thing is for certain. Haas is still not good. Um, it is what it is.
Very true.
Yeah.
They've downgraded in drivers. I think we'll see how that plays out. But I think going from Hulkenberg to Ocon is definitely
Move.
yeah. I would
It is.
not say that's a
It
lateral
is.
move at all.
It is one of the moves of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's and then plus, I mean, look, you have a young driver in Ollie Behrman. He drove Ferrari when who couldn't was it Sainz was out?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Signs had appendicitis.
Yeah, so he drove for Sainz, got points, very impressive. Um, but and I think that's how he was able to get this ride with Haas because Haas works with Ferrari. That's where they get their engines from. But I'm excited to see how this season goes. They're in Shanghai this weekend. So I
First sprint weekend, I think, as well, isn't it?
it is. So uh, I don't know if I'll stay up for that one. Um, but I'll
Need to find the start time on that one. But
yeah.
hey, at least whatever time they tell you, it's going to be on the dot. Last NASCAR could learn a few things from that.
Yeah, no, if they say midnight, that Rolex clock is on the money. It is midnight, unless, Hajar breaks, and then, we get delayed by 15 minutes. But, that is what it is.
Sound like you got a lot of Hazard hate.
Brother,
Oh yeah,
I
that is a
was
3 a.m. Eastern start for the race. I don't
you
even know if
said,
I can do that one.
oh
Oof.
no. Yeah, no. I got lunch plans that Sunday. Yeah, that's not happening.
I got sleep plans that night. That's all I
Yeah,
know.
no, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I gotta sleep. Yeah, that's not
I
happening, boss man.
I think it is interesting though because I know how exciting last year was especially towards the end of the year with the constructors and having it come down to three teams going into the last race of the season. Granted, I think Red Bull was on the outside looking in and everybody knew that because they essentially had I don't even know what to say, but they essentially had one driver scoring points. But it's hard to believe that I think this year could be almost as competitive as that across the board. I think you'll see a bunch of different race winners, so it'll be exciting. I'm looking forward to it. It was nice to have a full weekend back finally of NASCAR and F1 both. I felt like I was whole again.
Yeah, and also the 12 hours of Sebring were on that Saturday. Um, and that was pretty exciting to watch. Those endurance races are always fun, just because it started in the morning and it ended at night, and it got really
Wow.
chaotic. It got really chaotic. It was a very good watch. Porsche Penske Motorsport came home in the lead or won the 12 hours. Felipe Nasr, Nick Tandy, Lawrence Vanthor, dominant. Um, just that Porsche Penske is insanely good, um, and in endurance racing, um, and so that was that. Their next race is is in Long Beach in about a month whenever IndyCar goes there. So I'll try to keep up with that. I know I watch that stuff. So I'll try to keep the listeners up to date with all that.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is the point in the show where you're riding solo and Jacob and I are just going, yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep. I've been at that point since we started the F1 talk because I mean
Well,
I'm not as big
maybe if you'd
into
stayed
F1
up and watched the race with us like you said you were going to, you'd maybe know what's going on. But it's fine. I
Sleep.
digress.
Sleep is an important aspect of life.
You and Josh
You
bailed
need
on us.
sleep.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, Josh didn't even make it to the start.
Yeah, well, he
I
he
didn't
got to
even
see
make it to the pre-race.
he at least got to see Hajar wreck, and then he kind of gave up, which fair.
I almost gave up. I almost was like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna go to sleep. I'll watch it in the morning."
It was brutal. It really was. It honestly looked like eye pacing at times because I know that was kind of a contention with some of the wrecks. I mean, I think they ran 6 or 7, like 5 or 6 laps under caution, which is highly unusual for them.
Um, I do also know that the Australian V8 supercars also ran in Albert Park this past weekend in Australia. We'll also keep that up as well. However, we have gone really long. Um,
Listen, it was the
so
first weekend full of motorsports. You can't
yeah,
blame us.
yeah. So but yes, we have a special bonus episode coming out. It's Monday night at 8:30 when our truck race would normally happen. We're gonna have Ross Tatum, our season 22 champion, come
Well
on, and
deserved.
And season 21 champion.
first
Yep.
back-to-back champion in league history. We're gonna interview him, get his thoughts. We know the broadcast we interviewed him over there, but that was like 4 or 5 minutes. So we're actually gonna go in depth with him. It's not gonna be a very long episode. It's gonna be like 20, 25 minutes. We're just gonna talk to Ross. How he prepared for the season. Um, you know, how does he feel being first back-to-back champion in series history? We're just gonna talk to him about all that. But you can expect that Monday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. But we will catch you guys on the next episode, which will be then, and our regular episode will be Friday at 10 a.m. back to our regular scheduled podcast. But we will see you guys next time, and bye bye.